Yuanin knew what would happen if he ate the bun, so she used her air cannon and destroyed it. Li Ji was terrified. Yuanin stomped the ground and a boulder came out. She threw the boulder towards Wu Lin. Wu Lin blocked it, but then Yuanin appeared right behind him. He was wide open. She hit him and sent him flying back. Everyone thought that Wu Lin was done. He was seriously injured on the other side. Yes Shingomo was attacking Gu Yue and Xu Xiaoyani. He thought that it was a pity that he was suppressed by the Star God sword. He knew he had to deal with the two first. But then he was trapped by Star Wheel shackles. He had no way to move. He was then frozen on the spot. Their plan had succeeded. Gu Yue told Xu Xiaoyan to help Xing Lan. She went to help Wu Lin. The combination of Gu Yue and Xu Xiaoyan was just a trap. They pretended to be first-class team members who were easy to deal with to lure the opponent in, and then they attacked. As long as one opponent could be eliminated, the next plan could be carried out. The time Wu Lin had described had come. Gu Yue and Wu Lin against Yuanin. Gu Yue shot ice spears at her. She was breaking right through them and was about to land a blow, but Wu Lin pulled Gu Yue back. Yuanin noticed that Gu Yue was passing a bean bun to Wu Lin. She wasn't going to let that happen. She attacked. They were both sent back, but Wu Lin managed to eat the bean bun. Yuanin now had no choice but to defeat him before the effects of the bean bun kicked in. She charged towards him. He was now in big trouble, but then he disappeared. Yuanin was confused. Gu Yue had teleported him. Yuanin decided to go after Gu Yue. Gu Yue used elemental chaos. When both their abilities clashed, it caused an explosion. Gu Yue was sent flying back, but was caught by Wu Lin. Yuanin was stuck in Gu Yue's attack. Wu Lin asked if she was okay. She was more worried about him because he was already injured. He told her that he would be fine because the bloodthirst effects were kicking in. Gu Yue told Wu Lin to go and help Xing Lan. She was confident that she could handle Yuanin all by herself. Wu Lin agreed. Yuanin was free. But before she had time to react, Gu Yue was already on the offensive. Yuanin was surprised because Gu Yue was a support-type soul master. She used the tree lament palm to attack. Yuanin was now in trouble. Luo and Siduo were amazed by her strength. On the other side of the arena, Ye Xinglan used the sword god net to eliminate He Xiaopeng. She was attacked by Yue. Yue was relieved that she was eliminated, but he had an even bigger problem to face. Wu Lin had arrived. The first grade now had the upper hand because it was 5 against 4. Yue used the light of judgment and attacked. Under his powerful attack, Xu Xiaoyan and Xu Liji were both eliminated, but then he noticed that Wu Lin's dark golden soul ring was absorbing his soul power. Before he had time to react, Wu Lin, with one move, eliminated Yue, but his body was so exhausted he could barely stand. At that time, the showdown between Gu Yue and Yuanin reached its climax. Yuanin was in trouble because her soul power was nearly depleted. She couldn't sustain her Titan giant ape form for much longer either. Behind her, Duan Huxiao used the Death Song ability to eliminate GC. He was still frustrated because he was occupied for a very long time by ZC. On the other side of the battlefield, Bade Hanying used her martial soul to help Yuanin because of that. Yuanin's soul power increased. A fiery aura surrounded her. Gu Yue was now in trouble. Wu Lin saw that and rushed towards her to aid her. She was okay. Yuanin told Wu Lin that only he and Gu Yue were left and asked if they admitted defeat. Wu Lin wasn't ready to give up. He stepped up, ready to face her again. Even Gu Yue was surprised because Wu Lin had no power left to fight, but still, he stood his ground. Yuanin smiled, impressed by his determination. Wu Lin smiled back, and now both were ready to face each other again. To Wu Lin, defeat was acceptable, but surrendering was not an option. Their fight was about to start when suddenly Gu Yue hugged Wu Lin from behind. Everyone was confused. But then a 7-colored light surrounded Wu Lin. Golden scales started covering his entire body. Zhuo could feel his martial soul being suppressed. Wu Lin charged with a powerful attack. Things weren't looking good for Yuanin. She went into a defensive position. Huxiao started playing his flute, but the shockwaves from Wu Lin's attack broke his flute. Yuanin and Wu Lin were about to collide. Yuanin's strength seemed to be getting gradually drained. A 7-colored light surrounded the entire arena. Nobody could see anything. Then everyone saw that Yuanin, Bai Hanying, and Duan Huxiao were retrieved from the stage by Yali. Everyone was confused. Wu Lin and Gu Yue had lost consciousness, but since they were the last ones standing, the victory was given to the first grade. Yuanin noted that both Wu Lin and Gu Yue were leaning into each other, not allowing the other to fall. She was confused. Elder Kai told everyone that the move Gu Yue used was a soul fusion skill. Zhuo said that their punch created a vacuum. Feng agreed, explaining that all 7 elements were stripped away, leaving only a space that needed to be filled. Feng expressed surprise that they were able to use a soul fusion skill like that with 2 unrelated martial souls and decided to call the move the Dragon King Vacuum Punch. Zhuo asked Yali if their bodies were okay. Yali replied that there was no real problem with their bodies, but they would need time to recover, estimating a full month of rest. Yali added that the more compatible two people are, the more powerful their soul fusion skill is. Even if all of history were searched, it would be hard to find more than a handful of people whose fusion rate exceeded 80%. The highest fusion rate ever recorded was that of Spirit Ice Duluo Huo Yuhao and his wife, Dragon Butterfly Duluo Tang Wutong, which approached 100% compatibility. Any soul fusion skill capable of reaching a 100% fusion rate would be considered a given fusion. Their bodies couldn't be separated, so they were taken to the dorm. Yali thought that although she only had an inkling of suspicion, the soul fusion skill of these two children might be on par with a divine fusion soul skill. If her suspicion turned out to be correct, then Shrek Academy would have picked up a pair of real treasures. Inside his mind, Wulin felt his blood essence bubbling, surging forth like a raging river. He wondered where he was, and noted that the place looked like a sea of stars, with countless specks of gold floating suspended in space. Then he saw an enormous golden dragon. He observed that there were 18 rings of light around the dragon's body, 3 glowing a soft blue while the rest blazed red. He questioned if this was the golden dragon king sealed within his body, and concluded that those rings of light must be the seals. He wondered how he had come to this place, recalling only the warmth of a body hugging him, his blood essence surging with power, and himself subconsciously unleashing a punch. Everything after that was blank. He called out for old Tang. Then the dragon started moving upwards and he woke up. He saw that he was in the working student dormitory and wrapped in Gu Yue's arms. Then Gu Yue also woke up. She felt embarrassed. She told Wulin not to move and pushed him aside. She questioned why he hugged her. He told her that she was the one who hugged him. This made her even more embarrassed and she hit him. Then Wulin fell asleep. Xu Xiaoyan asked Gu Yue how she was doing and urged her to take it easy and rest some more. Gu Yue inquired about how long they had been unconscious. Xu Xiaoyan informed her that it had been 3 days and mentioned that Gu Yue had been holding on to Wulin so tightly that none of them could separate her. She then suggested that they return to their dorms, so they left. Liji asked Wulin if he was hungry. Wulin replied that Liji had scared him. Liji explained that he was just waiting to see when Wulin would wake up. Wulin then asked if they had won. Liji confirmed that they had won, both in their individual match and in the overall competition, and expressed amazement at how well Wulin and Gu Yue had hidden their abilities, especially their soul fusion skill. Wulin asked if Liji would believe it was their first time using the skill. Liji responded in disbelief, saying it couldn't be their first time. Then Yuanen and Zi Sautin arrived. Yuanen also didn't believe that it was their first time. Wulin reassured her. He told her that he didn't know what happened and asked if they were hurt. She told him that the spirit Duluo saved them. She commented that the soul fusion skill had a terrifying power and asked him again if they had really come up with it in the heat of battle. Wulin got a little frustrated and asked if he needed to make some sort of pledge for them to believe him. Yuanen told him that the next time they fight, she would definitely win. She then proceeded to leave and told him once he had recovered, he should get back to forging. Wulin called her out as being selfish. He felt that Yuanen acted distant from others. Zizi told him not to mind her, saying that cultivating was the only thing on her mind. Wulin asked whose side he was on. Zizi replied that he was on his side, of course. Liji asked why he was speaking up for her then. Frustrated, Zizi said he was just stating the facts and questioned what Liji would know, then asked for a bun and some help saving money. Liji refused, stating that buns cost soul power. Wulin told him to be quiet because he was about to start cultivating. Wulin thought that his body's condition was even worse than he had imagined. Only a few drops of soul power remained in it. What was scarier was that his blood essence had no vigor. If it hadn't been for Liji's pork buns, he wouldn't have had even the energy to sit with his legs crossed. Everything seemed to return to its monotonous routine. Attend class, forge, cultivate, study. But there was one difference. The students of the first grade were far more united than they had been at the beginning of the school year. All of Wulin's classmates now greeted him with a sincere smile when they saw him. Everyone was in a frenzy to grow stronger. Gu Yue didn't retell the competition that day. She also distanced herself from everyone else a bit more than usual. Ye Xinglan held off from making any more pieces of battle armor. At that point in time, she needed to increase her soul power rank. Wulin's schedule was the most rigid of them all. He focused on forging and cultivating on the side, and gorged himself to improve his blood essence. The days passed just like that. In the blink of an eye, the end of the semester was upon them. In class, Shi Yi announced that the semester was coming to an end. The first semester's final exam that everyone had been looking forward to was almost there. She stated that 5 people would be expelled according to the results of the exam, and encouraged the students to work hard if they did not want to be among those 5. Wulin asked if there was any way to avoid having anyone expelled. Shi Yi responded that the results of the final exam would be based on how many points each student scored. If everyone met the minimum score, then everyone might be able to pass. However, the bar for next semester's exam would then be raised by 5%. The only leeway allowed would be the option to share points with other students, but she reminded them that these points would also determine whether they got into the inner court. She cautioned them to be careful about how many points they gave away, as it could be the difference between making it into the inner court or not. Shi Yi then detailed the exam. It would span 15 days, during which the students would go to Bright City. They were required to visit at least 10 cities, including Bright City, and in every city, they had to defeat a soul master at least 5 soul power ranks above them. They were not allowed to receive any help with finding their opponents, defeating them, or traveling to Bright City, and they had to figure out how to do this on their own. They only had 15 days to complete the assigned tasks and return. The number of points earned would depend on the strength of the opponents they defeated. She assured them not to worry about how their points were being counted during the exam, as the academy would be dispatching teachers to shadow all of them. She advised them to act with caution during the exam, to avoid picking fights with someone they couldn't handle, and clarified that the teachers would not help under any circumstances. Finally, Shi Yi informed them that before departing, their soul storage devices, communicators, and any other resources, including money, would be confiscated. Bright City was located on the western part of the continent, while Shrek Academy sat right in the continent's heart. Traveling via high-speed train would take at least 3 straight days from Shrek City to Bright City, meaning at least 5 days of traveling. She stated that they might not form groups and that everyone had to take the exam alone. If any cooperation was discovered, everyone involved would fail. Wulin thought that the academy actually wanted to test out fusion energy and resolved that he was not afraid. At Elder Kai's office, the matter was being discussed. Elder Kai inquired if the arrangements for the exam were complete. Shun Yi confirmed that everything was in order, noting that there had always been a few surprises during the first final exam for new students. Elder Kai emphasized the importance of being thorough with the body search, mentioning that the students were clever and might try to gain an advantage. Shun Yi reassured Elder Kai, stating that she had gone through this once before and knew what the students were thinking. She added that Wu and the other proctors had already set out. Elder Kai expressed that this would be a good learning experience for them. Suddenly, Gu Yue's teacher Leng contacted Elder Kai telepathically, insisting that Elder Kai stop meddling in Gu Yue's business as Gu Yue was her disciple. Elder Kai questioned how he had been meddling. Teacher Leng asserted that she understood Elder Kai's thoughts and reminded him that Gu Yue had already joined the Spirit Pagoda and become her disciple. She was certain that Gu Yue would do better under her tutelage and stated her intention to take Gu Yue once she graduated from the outer court. Teacher Leng concluded by challenging Elder Kai to find her if he still couldn't accept this. Elder Kai resolved to find her immediately. At the working student dormitories, Wulin, Gu Yue, Zizi, Xu Xiaoyan, Xing Lan, and Li Ji were strategizing about the exam. Wulin suggested the best route, emphasizing its efficiency with 9 cities en route to Bright City. He noted the necessity of individual efforts due to the prohibition on collaboration. Money was a primary concern, as without it, they couldn't use the Soul Train. Li Ji proposed selling buns, while Xu Xiaoyan planned to seek financial assistance from seniors, leaving the others to find alternative solutions. CSC mentioned the possibility of street performances if needed. Wulin confirmed his intention to pursue forging assignments and inquired about Gu Yue and Xinglan's plans. They both planned on using power. At the Spirit Ice Plaza, Wulin was upset because he hadn't been allowed to bring his forging hammer with him. This had ruined his plan to make money.